So one of the current buzzwords slash topics that I think is really popular right now is rest. What is actual rest? What does it mean to be restful, truly restful? Why do we need rest? How do we rest? The idea that rest is an act of resistance. And so, in case you're not familiar with it, I'll just quickly go over it. So, the idea is that we as humans have moved ourselves into urgency culture. The fact that we are available 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, at an instant notice through our phones, through notifications. And so we're meant to respond immediately, right away. That's urgency culture. Someone texted you, you better get back to them. Imagine taking a few hours. Imagine taking a day. Imagine taking a week to respond to an email. We rarely do that anymore. Our culture is not just urgency culture in how we respond or how quickly we're supposed to respond, but it's also an urgency culture because everything is done on the go. Rarely do we sit and really just enjoy a meal. It's through fast food. Our banking is online or a drive-through. What isn't a drive-through? What can't be done on our phone in minutes? Just today, actually, I was ordering at-home medical tests, which I actually super appreciate, to be honest with you. But it did make me think, like, wow, that's such a neat and cool, place that we've gotten to. How awesome! But also, like, it lacks in that I'm going to go to a medical doctor and I'm going to sit there in the waiting room and be patient about it. And we even have urgent care, right? So rest is about pausing from that and not allowing yourself to be so caught up in it that you become burnt out, that you become disembodied from your physical self. You're just numb, you're disassociated because you're just go, 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 go all the time. You're on to the next thing. We live in so much anxious rumination in our mind. Clients that I see day after day after day, week after week, all year long, every year, it's always like, I can't stop the mind. That's also because of the amount of overconsumption we do, right? Like the amount of information we take in was never meant to be. It's not normal. And I do air quotes because I very rarely think anything is normal or that there's actually a real, I don't even know what that word means, but you get what I mean. Like we weren't intended to be this way as human beings, that everything is just there. All the information is instant. We have to move quickly. We don't slow down. We don't have meals with families. We don't allow for boredom. We don't allow for true rest of body, mind, spirit. Because if we rest, then we feel guilty. We feel guilty that we're not producing something. We don't have something to show for rest. I didn't accomplish a bunch of stuff today. That is built into our capitalistic culture. That is built into families, the hard work ethic. You're nobody if you're not going to go to school, graduate, go to college, have a family, like everything's always lined up about what you're supposed to do next, next step. There isn't time. One of my newest things I've become anti against is the term gap, the gap year. So when a person graduates high school, if they don't immediately have a course that they're following, they're going to college, they're going into a trade, or they know they're going into starting a full-time job, like they just don't know. And instead they just continue to live life. It's called a gap year. There's a gap. What is there a gap of? That's not real. That doesn't exist. That person just continues to live life and experience life. It's not a gap because you didn't follow capitalism exactly as it wants you to, which is to become a workforce, which is to become a part of cubicle culture, to make the man money, someone else money. That's what the gap means. And that's not real. That doesn't exist. But that is the culture that we live in, that you can't just be calm, be restful, live life, not know what you're going to do from one year to the next, explore different options, travel. If you're not producing, then by God, you are, worthless. And it comes with a lot of shame. So rest means where you actually, it's not just about physically resting. So a lot of people think resting is, well, if I'm laying down, but I'm still scrolling, I'm resting because I'm not moving my body. But if you're still moving your mind, if you're still consuming a lot of information and you're still ruminating, feeling stressed, you're not resting. You're resting physically, sure, okay. But true rest means to pull yourself out of that capitalistic mindset, that colonialistic mindset, that I have to produce to be worthy, to be important, to be valuable mindset, and to say, no, I'm just going to be. And it's about doing things that feel good. So it's not even just about laying still. So for some people, rest, like for me, part of my rest is actually going on walks in nature. But the walk is not designed as like, how many steps am I doing? How many calories am I burning? What's the end result of the walk? The walk is to walk. The walk is to breathe fresh air. The walk is to touch trees, maybe hug them. The walk is to take my dog because he needs it and he feels good. That's restful to me. But the moment I make it about an output, an outcome, it's not rest anymore. It's a job, it's work. So rest is when you truly can say to yourself, I can allow myself to do this or that feels good and nourishes me, fills my spirit. It's not about the outcome. It's about the process. So for example, for crafters or people who like to be creative, whether you knit, crochet, paint, work with clay, whatever it is however you create, scrapbook, anything else, you sit down to do it and it's restful when you're doing it because you enjoy it. Because you just like the clickety click of the needles. It's not about the outcome. It's not like I have to get 3 pages done in the scrapbook or else I didn't do it. That's not restful. Rest is, I'm just going to sit down and enjoy this. It feels good to create. And I'm just totally in the process. I recently brought fiber back into my hands on a regular basis. I've been knitting and crocheting for a long, long time. And I just wanted like I said, the clickety clack of the needles. I just wanted to have something repetitive and not have it be about that it was for someone or the output. So I actually just grabbed some yarn that I have that I didn't have a plan for, and it's just really pretty and colorful and I loved it. And I was like, I just started knitting. And I guess it's gonna be a scarf, which I've never in 20 years of crocheting and knitting ever done a scarf because I always thought that would be boring. And I don't wear scarves and I don't know a lot of people that do. But all I wanted was to just have this repetitive motion. I wanted to be able to put my phone down and to just use this pretty colored yarn and have that be my visual experience. And it's very soft, and to have that tactile experience, it's been so enjoyable. And now I've learned scarves are quite delightful to make. I don't even have a plan for the scarf. I'll never wear it because I don't wear scarves. Not even this one I made. I just don't wear scarves. I like cowls, but I don't wear scarves. Maybe I'll put it together and make it a cowl. So rest is truly asking yourself to maybe physically rest, but it's to rest your mind. It's to rest your soul. It's to say the outcome is not important. I'm not going to force myself to be somewhere. It's not about the productivity. It's about the process. It's about the journey. It's just about being and doing. Okay, so we've covered what rest is. Took a little longer than I meant to. So my question now is, what do we do after rest though? And this has come up because we're just finishing up the holidays. And so like literally, I don't know where they start for you, but for me, it's definitely like Halloween, because I really love witchy season. I do a lot of practicing of magic and stuff like that. And then, so, October is really in for me, November is as well for witchy stuff. But most people think of it as Thanksgiving in the United States, and then Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, all the things. Plus, I have 3 different birthdays in that time zone. But that is not restful. Holidays are not restful for most people. But here at the very end, the last couple weeks of December and January, a lot of people take vacation or vacation days, right? And you spend it time with family, eat a lot of food, maybe you travel, whatever. But as long as you're not working, you're considering it rest. And hopefully, because you're starting to learn what rest really is, you are really allowed yourself to do restful things, those nourishing things that filled up your spirit and that were just for you, that just felt good to you. So let's say you did that. But what was it like? What has it been like the past couple days? It's Tuesday, the day after all, New Year's, the week of New Year's, all the holidays. Like, what do you feel like now? What did you opened your email, you looked at your calendar, and boom, there it all was. Everything that needed to be done. And you immediately jump out of rest. I know you did, because I almost did, which is why I'm making this video. And I paused and I thought, oh, okay, wait a second. I didn't just do all this deep rest. I moved slowly. I ate mindfully. I ate whatever I wanted, but I ate with relishing the deliciousness of the food. I napped. I spent a lot of time with my family. I knit and crochet actually. Took a lot of Epsom salt baths. Like I rested. I deeply rested. I didn't take whole 2 weeks off, but I rested for about a week. But man, then when I'm like back to work, so to speak, it was immediate. Like I started having like immediately the anxiety pulled in and like, I have to do all the things right now on this day, right now, this Monday. All these things I procrastinated or put off doing because I was resting, now they have to be all done right now, right away. Oh my God, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But fortunately, I paused and I thought, no, this isn't the other side of rest. I'm not going to undo my rest by being frantic. I didn't rest just so I could go back into urgency culture, just so I could be frantic and have anxiety and stressed out. I didn't do that, and nor should you. So that is the point of this video. What's on the other side of rest? It should continue to be more restful actions. When I have a client come in for a healing session, energy session, say specifically one where they're laying on the table, they're receiving energy, and they just get deeply relaxed, they get calm, they get centered, their blood pressure lowers, their mind calms and clears for the first time ever. I always say to them, listen, for the rest of this day, no matter what time it is, to continue this work, to really like keep you in a space and to have more of an integration so it really settles your spirit, settles your energetic vibration. You need to stay in this place as much as possible. Don't leave here and go do all this busy work. Don't leave here and go get in an argument with someone. Don't leave here and go to like a store. Honestly, that's always my highest suggestion. Don't go in public if you don't have to, truly. And of course, life happens, right? Sometimes you get a massage or something that's, restful and relaxing, and you still have to go back to work. You still have to go to the grocery store. I get that. Not everybody can take a whole day off just because they got energy work. But you can still make restful choices. So when you come into my space and I've helped calm your mind and brought you peace, you don't go doom scroll after that. Maybe you have to go to work and kind of be in whatever that is for you, but at least minimize the bullshit. Minimize the distractions, minimize the negativity. You have choices. It's just like if you have an injury and you're seeing a PT therapist, you don't go to PT and then or you don't go to like the chiropractor and get put all into place and then go do some heavy lifting of like furniture and stuff. You let your body be in that space. It's the same thing with energy work. It's the same thing with rest. And really, we shouldn't just be resting again to jump back into urgency culture. We're resting to be restful in life. That's really the key here. Learning to breathe and breathe deeply daily throughout the day. Learning to make conscious choices of your time and your energy, what you're consuming, what you're outputting. Rest shouldn't just be like we're in this whole fad of rest, and it's a revolution. It's resistance, a form of resistance against the patriarchy, capitalism. I love all that. I'm so on board with that, and I'm glad it's the current sort of fad, if you will. I think some fads are actually very great and wonderful, and I think this is one of them. But remember, it's not a fad of just, well, I was able to because it was a holiday break, or it was the weekend, or it was my one day off. Rest needs to become a lifestyle. And the more you stay in a restful space, the less you are burnt out, the more your nervous system comes from a calmer place, that default of rest and digest, which should be your default state. And you get dysregulated all the time. That's life. But when you start from calm and you go into, fight or flight or freeze or fawn, but you're able to come back a little more quickly, you're able to sit and respond or take time until you can respond instead of react, that's because you're rested. You start to view the world in a whole different way. The reason it's a form of active resistance is because they, and by they, I mean the government, the powers that be, whoever you think or whatever you think that is. I don't care where you land on the political spectrum. They, the bigger than us people, the people that make a lot more money than us, want us tired and exhausted. They want us working ourselves to the bone, but they want us tired and exhausted because we can't rise up. We can't fight for our rights if we're tired and exhausted all the time. And when our joy is stolen, we become apathetic, and again, we don't fight back. They want you apathetic. They want you excited. They want to soul suck you. So true rest isn't just a moment, it is a lifestyle, and it is a form of resistance. And so what's on the other side of rest for you? When you've come back from the holidays these past couple days, did you immediately jump into urgency culture, immediately jump into anxiety, immediately jump into rumination and stress? Because if you did, then you're doing it wrong. And I don't say that very often. I don't think there's a lot of true right and wrong, but that is the wrong way. If you rested at all, then you need to try to stay in a rested state as much as possible. And one of the things that happens is you have to learn that not everything is an emergency. It's not. You're trained to think that because of your trauma. You're trained to think that because of the patriarchy and capitalism, but it's actually not. It's not an emergency, and there doesn't need to be a rush. So a couple things I recommend to stay in a restful state and is one, to remove yourself out of urgency culture as best as you can. So one thing I've made a point of doing is I no longer respond to text immediately unless I want to, and a lot of times I do. But if I don't, I don't. And I don't put a timeline on when I have to respond. I don't allow anyone to pressure me, like respond right now, which fortunately no one does. I don't think anyone would do that to me, but here's the key. When I do finally respond back, whether it's a day, a week, 2 weeks, I also don't start off with an apology because I'm not sorry. I responded when I had the capacity to respond, when I had the time and the wherewithal to respond. So I'm not sorry, and I don't owe you an apology. Sometimes I think we should go back to landlines, and you just can't get a hold of people all the time. You know what? I do kind of think, as a Xennial, I do kind of think those were the good old days. You left the house and people could just reach you whenever, wherever. And also as a parent, I love that I can reach my kids whenever and wherever. So, but that is one way, is stop texting back, stop emailing back until you have the capacity. And then you don't start off with an apology. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't do this. And you give some excuse because you're not sorry. You don't need to be sorry. You responded when you had the capacity. Another way to bring rest in is to become very judicious with the social media that you've been inputting or that you take in, the consumption. I've been in a huge experiment for myself in the past year, learning which social medias affect me in what ways. And to be very specific, I love TikTok, but I have learned that TikTok is very emotionally pulling on me. It either makes me laugh hysterically, it makes me cry, sob, it makes me angry, like it pulls on my emotions. And I've just decided that I don't really have the capacity for that anymore on such a regular, like daily basis. And it sways me. It pulls me into one way or another, and then it sways me, and I'll stay in that space for hours, right? And our phones are smart. They know that. They're like, oh, she's locked into this kind of video. And so we're going to keep her there. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you've had 2 hours of that particular kind of video, the ones that you're bawling at or whatever. They're pulling you into the sorrow, Like when I dropped my kid off at college, my first child to leave the home this past August, I had 2 weeks of straight TikToks of mothers crying because of dropping their kids off for college. I was already in tears about it all the time. I am that mom. I was that mom. But for 2 damn straight weeks, it was non-stop TikToks of other mothers weeping and sobbing in these more sorrowful videos of dropping their kids off. And I stayed in it. I was locked into that sorrow, that emotion. I was like, yes, I am doing this. This is where I'm at. And I don't necessarily regret it. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving it an example. I am someone that likes to explore emotions, and even extreme and even very deeply. So I'm not saying I necessarily regret that. I'm just using it as an example of once my algorithm was like, oh, she's locked into this, they kept me locked in. So again, one way to go into a restful state and stay that way is to pull back from anywhere in social media that pulls you in deeply into your emotions and keeps you locked in. So start to notice. So when you get online, get grounded, take a deep breath, and then see if you're pulled. Like if all of a sudden you're just immediately having emotion when you're feeling scroll. Instead, find media that is nourishing. I love that word. That should be a fad word, buzzword. Let's do that one in 2026, along with rest. And do it that feels good and is calming and soothing. So for me, because I brought fiber back into my hands, like knitting and crocheting, like yarn, I have now imploded my social medias with knitting, crocheting videos, and I love it. I actually find it relaxing to watch other people knit. Like I just sit there. Um, happy little baby videos. I love those. Animal videos, funny things that animals do. Just what are the ones that just do actually fill you up and make you feel good, but keep you restful and not yanked in different directions. Okay, so move yourself from urgency culture to stay in the restful state. Recognize that everything is not an emergency. It's not, and it doesn't have to be done right away. You've been tricked. I've been tricked. We've been tricked. It doesn't have to be done right away. That is straight up patriarchy, capitalism. It's the whole deal. And it is meant to keep you drained and apathetic. So pull your mind into what is important to you, what you value, and what nourishes and fills you up. That's staying in a restful state. Stop replying to everybody right away. Clean up your social media and take time every day to just, I don't know, stare out the window. One of my favorite things to do in the morning, I'm a very early riser, and I'm not suggesting that for everyone. It's just one of my times to like be in the dark and be in the quiet, and nobody's around and nobody needs me and nobody's asking anything from me. And I'll still be kind of tired because it's early. I mean, it's like 4 in the morning early. And so I will sometimes just go, oh, well, I always light a candle, but sometimes I just sit on the couch, and before I reach for my phone, I just sit there kind of like dazed off. And I'm still in this liminal space between sleep and awake. And I just have this opportunity to just like, I'll just mind wander, not ruminate, not be stressed out, just think about stuff in kind of a calm, quiet manner. Of course, that won't work for everybody because a lot of people wake up very stressed and anxious. I'm just giving examples of where you can create rest within your day and in your habits. That's what's on the other side of rest is more rest. That's the answer. So I want you to really think about how you felt coming back after the holidays, these past couple days, maybe it was a week ago, and what you initially jumped into, what you did, how you felt. Are you feeling restful at all? If you got some really deep, wonderful rest over the holidays, do you still feel it a week later, 2 days later, however you came back? Do you truly feel that rest still? Or are you like, it almost didn't exist, like it didn't happen? If it didn't happen, that didn't exist, that time you can't even remember what that felt like, then you've done it wrong coming back from rest. It's time to create a life of rest, not just moments. Create habits of restfulness to continue calming your nervous system, calming your mind, staying grounded, dropped into your body. So what's on the other side of rest? Like true restful, long, extended periods of rest, whether that be hours, days, weeks, whatever, is more rest. That's the question. That's the answer. And I wish you so much rest in 2026. We all need it.